I've generally always thought me and my partner should try and perform this for some TikTok. But anyway,
if we get 500 listens on this singular podcast, and one
that ain't fucking happening. That ain't fucking happening.
If a TikTok from this or a TikTok goes viral from this record, Chandler will perform this song.
And James will dance in the other chair.
Alex will be Vanessa Hudgens.
I've got the tits for it. Things that we will be discussing today: dancing, singing, turning 30, the AIDS crisis, Lin-Manuel Miranda, and Jonathan Larson. Quite a spectrum, a lot to get through. Welcome to the second episode of the Musicals Trilogy of the Three Takes of Stupidity. This time we're covering the musical about the life of Jonathan Larson, Tick, Tick, Boom. I'm joined by Chandler Monk.
Hello.
James Robbins.
Hiya.
And I'm Alex Clinton. Hello. We will also discuss how many house parties Chandler has had where he's made people sing show tunes.
He did get us to go to a musical bar for one of his birthdays.
Yeah.
2 of my birthdays, actually.
Welcome back, guys. Second episode, Musicals Trilogy. Tick, tick, boom. This is my pick. But before we get emotional through this tragic story where we discover that Alex is heartless as fuck, what have you guys been up to? What have you been watching this week?
I think I'll take the lead. Oh,
go on then. Go on then.
I've been watching a fantastic series called The Sopranos. Really good. Yes, got it in. Here we go, 10 in a row.
This is going to be Alex's start probably for the next 3 years, given how long The Sopranos is, right?
It's only 7 series. I'm doing very well.
And a movie.
What did I watch? I watched... Yeah.
Hey, cool.
oh, we got Brooklyn Nine-Nine in there as well.
Shit.
There is genuinely a movie. Like, I know that's a joke from Community, but there is genuinely a Sopranos prequel thing as well.
Is there?
Yeah.
Oh,
and
nice.
there's a new series coming out as well with James Gandolfini. There.
Gandolfini's. Gandolfini's.
Thank you. Son coming out as well.
Great, I'll watch that as well. But I watched this. I know that you criticised me for not crying at this, but at the same time, as soon as I finish this, there's something on Netflix about the murder of Abby or Gabrielle Patino. Yeah, Patino. That was very sad. That did make me well up a little bit.
Do you watch something every week on the death of someone?
Yeah, but she was murdered by her boyfriend.
Spoilers.
Oh yeah. Sorry. Spoilers, everyone. Although Soph knew exactly what it was when she came in for the last 5 minutes when the family were laying down her ashes at where she was found, which I kind of agree is a bit strange. Like, it was a beautiful place, but it's also where she was murdered.
Wait. Are you sure it's not strange from Sophie just going 5 minutes from the end, going, yeah, I know exactly where that is in the world. That's where her ashes are.
No. She knew what the story was because she'd followed it when it broke on TikTok in 2021.
Damn, I thought we had some side media of Soph being incredible at GeoGuessr.
It's either GeoGuessr or she's a murderer. But no, she just followed the TikToks.
This week, as we know, unfortunately, we're a week late with this episode because I've not been well. So I watched a film called A Man Called Otto while I was in bed with Tom Hanks, which also made me cry. Very good film.
You were in bed with Tom Hanks?
I wish I was in bed with Tom Hanks. Me and my partner also finally finished our rewatch of Malcolm in the Middle. I still maintain that has one of the best endings to a sitcom. It does filter out through the last 2 seasons. You can tell they're getting towards the end, but the final episode is incredible, and it really is a really, really good fitting ending to the whole show. I thankfully recovered in time to be able to go see. I had tickets to go see Inside Number 9 Stage Fright at the Wyndham's Theatre, and I went with my brother-in-law, and it was fantastic. It is one of the best things I've seen on stage in a while. Just very, very much like Inside Number 9, the TV show. It plays with your expectation. It plays with what you expect to see on stage. The jokes land very, very well. Reese Shearsmith and Steve Pemberton, both absolutely fantastic. The writing's incredible. The acting's immaculate. It was so good, so funny. And I would love to be able to go see it again. But I can't, obviously. So yeah, it was amazing. If you have the chance to go see it, just go. It's genuinely one of the things, even though some of the tickets are fairly expensive, it's worth every bloody penny. It was so good.
Inside Number 9 is one of those shows I've always dodged. It's like Black Mirror.
Okay, so just on Inside Number 9 as a TV show, it's one of the best TV shows of the past 30, 40 years. Because I think, like Black Mirror, it being an anthology series, makes it a very, very hard show to write. Because you don't spend weeks with characters, you can't develop storylines over the course of weeks and months and years. However, in saying that, every single episode of Inside Number 9, you care about every single character by the end of the 30 minutes. Like, you know who they are, you know what their story is, and you know why the situation that is happening in that episode has happened to them. And I maintain that Inside Number 9 is one of the best shows of the past 30, 40 years. It is incredible.
You've obviously never watched The Sopranos.
I have watched The Sopranos.
If I hear The Sopranos one more time
Gabagool.
on a video call with you fucks.
Genuinely, Alex, if you've not watched Inside Number 9, I think you will love it. Just go and watch it. Have a great time. There's 9 series of it. But the good thing is you don't have to start series 1. You can just watch any single episode. Come back next week and tell me you didn't love it. Because I'll be dumbfounded if you say you didn't like it.
Sold.
That was a lot of passion.
James, what have you been up to?
Actually, a few things. So I have been playing Assassin's Creed Valhalla, which is fun. I get to be a Viking and murder all the Anglo-Saxons. I have taken Mercia, and I'm assuming I will fail at taking Wessex, given history. And
Given history?
Me and my partner watched, we binged the first series of a show from, I think it's on the BBC, called Big Boys, which is really, really wonderful. We saw a clip of it on Gogglebox where it is the most wonderful scene of this young lad who's at university. He's at home and his best friend's convinced him to come out to his mum. Now I need Alex to watch that and see if he'll cry, because oh my days, I've seen that scene about 3 times and I've cried every single time. It is so beautiful. It's a true story. I can't remember the writer's name.
Is that the show with the guy from Derry Girls?
That's the question I was going to ask.
Derry Girls.
Yeah.
And isn't the mum Jackie Tyler from Doctor Who? It is
Jackie Tyler from Doctor Who, yeah. So it is an amazing series. And then in looking at Tick Tick Boom, this week I am going to see a workshop presentation of a musical.
Are you?
Yeah, a friend of ours works in theatre, and we're going to the Sadler's Wells Theatre to watch Bliss. It's a new musical. So yeah, looking forward to that.
That's really cool.
You have just lived, well, you're going to live Chandler's dream. Chandler is fuming right now that he is not friends with this person and is not going to do this.
The funniest thing, as we said, I watched this last week in preparation for when we were going to record, but then I obviously watched it last night because we actually record today. At the end of the show, I looked up workshop presentations of musicals if there was any around, to go see, because obviously me and my partner would probably love doing that. But yeah, so yeah, I'm very happy for you. Little bit jealous.
Apparently, it's a bit like 6.
Oh,
interesting.
Bold call. Oh, just to be a bit Simon Cowell about it as well, there will be moments where you're sat there going, God, this is terrible. This is so bad. Not all harsh. Of it. There will be. That's why these things happen.
It's a fair point. When it's on the West End, we'll do a little 3 takes outing.
Oh, we could. 3 takes the West End.
Just you two sobbing while I'm just sat there going, I don't get it. I don't. How's the mum died in this train crash when there's no trains? I don't understand.
I can see the movie opening. We're walking down the streets of the West End. We're all locked arms. We're all happy. We're all smiling. We're all slightly looking up. And there's zooms in and then zooms out. You can see the wide West End, and it's like a big opening to a chick flick. It's going to be.
So you want us all to do the fucking Thriller dance as we walk down the road to watch this musical?
Housekeeping time. An adaptation of the autobiographical musical by Jonathan Larson, who revolutionised theatre as the creator of Rent. A young theatre composer is waiting tables at a New York City diner in 1990, a week before he turns 30, while writing what he hopes is the next great American musical. Days before he's due to showcase the work in a make-or-break performance, John is feeling the pressure from everywhere. From his girlfriend Susan, who dreams of an artistic life beyond New York City. From his friend Michael, who's moved on from his dream to a life of financial security, admits an artistic community being ravaged by the AIDS epidemic. With the clock ticking, John is at a crossroads and faces the question everyone must reckon with. What are we meant to do with the time we have? Tick, tick, boom. On Rotten Tomatoes, the critics gave it an 88% score, and the audience gave it a 96% score on the Popcornometer, whereas IMDb, disappointed in you, giving it just a 7.5.
Is that what it has on IMDb?
Yeah, I was disgusted.
That's mental.
Rotten Tomatoes, I feel like normally represents my sensibilities when it comes to these films that we review. I feel like they're more accurate.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, I also feel 88's a bit low.
I do wonder if and this sounds mental, but tinfoil hat. This film is available on Netflix. It is a Netflix original movie. I feel like Netflix movies often get tagged with the Netflix movie like moniker, and that can bring them down.
Yeah,
I can see that.
Because normally if I hear a Netflix original film, I'm like, but Tick, Tick, Boom is excellent.
To be fair, I can see that. Like, this film did get nominated for 2 Oscars, both of which I still think it should have won. So Andrew Garfield got nominated for Best Actor in a Leading Role, which he lost to Will Smith for King Richard, which I don't know how that happened. But anyway.
Get your wife's name out of your fucking mouth.
And he got nominated for Achievement in Film Editing, which when you watch it back, you're like, yeah, 100%. That's an Oscar all over that. But yeah, I can see that little Netflix conspiracy theory there from you, James.
In fairness, Will Smith is very good in King Richard. I would say Garfield is better.
Thank you very much.
I can't comment because I've not seen King Richard, but I am surprised. Will Smith's a great actor, but I never think of him as
Oscar worthy.
Whereas Andrew Garfield for me is maybe one of them, a modern great. And I feel like Andrew Garfield is only just now really getting the credit he deserves for his career. I think he is amazing.
A modern grit. The man who took Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man and just shoved it so far down the toilet, he might as well just dropped it in the sea himself.
Excuse me, I do want to move on very quickly from this. However, excuse me, Andrew Garfield is a modern great. At Hacksaw Ridge, Social Network, this, and don't forget his very important role in the Doctor Who 2-parter of The Evolution of the Daleks and the Daleks Take Manhattan in Series 3.
Also need to see, we've talked about this before, but need to see his recent film with Florence Pugh that recently came out in cinemas. That looks like it's meant to be amazing, although absolutely gut-wrenchingly heartbreaking. But look, the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man films are very good, Alex. However, Tobey Maguire looks 40 playing a teenager, and I think Andrew Garfield may be a better Peter Parker, just saying.
Semantics.
Okay, enough on Spider-Man. We will come to that in a future trilogy. Talking about the opening of the film, and it's I think if you don't know who Jonathan Larson is before you watch this film, it sets it up in a way that you know enough about him to understand what he's going through at this time. It shows you how impressive one of his works became, how impressive Rent, and how Rent, as you say, James, revolutionized musical theatre and what a musical could be. You know, it won him Tonys, it won him Pulitzer Prizes, but it's like this is not about that story. This is not about Rent. Let's tell the actual story of how Jonathan Larson came to that and what happened before. And I think this film sets you up in that really good way of knowing that A, he's not still with us, it says before we lost him, and B, who he was before it. And I think it does it so well, and it sets you up for the next 2 hours.
You're right. I think I just want to point out on this movie, Jonathan Larson championed inclusion and was championed for his having such an inclusive audience, inclusive cast for Rent, and it didn't look like everything else on Broadway at the time. And I think it's important at a time where DEI in America is being closed everywhere to look at this movie and and look at Jonathan Larson's history and how important it is to have, different voices and diversity in the arts. He was a revolutionary writer, and yeah, Chandler, you said I didn't know when I've watched this film before. This is my pick. I absolutely love this movie. I think it's amazing. Didn't know much about him, and so I went into the movie the first time not knowing it was autobiographical at first. So I thought that until we lost him was just a bit of dramatic effect at the start, but by the end, knowing his story and the film was true, incredibly touched, and it made it all the better knowing that it's a true story.
I think the opening monologue set it up perfectly. I think at the start, you get the parallel editing from the start, where it takes you from his life in his apartment and what he's doing there to the stage. You get little insights into how he is flamboyant, very musical theatre. And you sort of see his values in how much he's putting into his art and what means a lot to him. Like you say, he was very inclusive, and I think that shines through into his personal life. Everyone he's hanging about with is just, all you got to do is be a big musical theatre person, and you are in Jonathan's life.
And then it comes on to how, as you say, James, this film is about dealing with the impending progression of time, essentially. And one thing, again, the reason the editing of this film is incredible is the constant ticking in the background, not just through this song, not just through the first 20 minutes, it's through the whole film, and you hear it over and over and over again. And I think that depiction of the weight of your own expectation or the weight of your own idea on legacy and your impact on the world is done incredibly well.
Yeah, the ticking is a really great device throughout the film to express how Jonathan is feeling. As a movie is basically he's being torn in so many directions while trying to focus on his own things, and all with the impending doom of turning 30 and not feeling like he's done anything with his life, which I think a lot of people go through. I know I'm feeling it at the moment. It's very relatable, and all of his friends are going through life changes. As say it's during the AIDS crisis, so it's friends passing away. His partner is a modern dancer who's now trying to take a job to be a teacher, and his best friend Michael, who in real life is based on his best friend Matt O'Grady, left acting to become work in advertising. He's letting all these people down because he needs to focus on himself, and he doesn't know which way to go, which way he's being dragged, where to focus on, and he's kind of ignoring everyone. And that ticking is a countdown, not just till he's 30, but it's it is used to express the countdown to. So the overarching plot of the film is Jonathan is writing a rock musical, a dystopian rock musical called Superbia, where he has a workshop where there's going to be lots of musical theatre producers, and that date is counting down. I believe that was 2 days before his 30th birthday. His partner needs to take a job offer by the Wednesday, and his best friend is trying to get in touch with him, who's struggling because he's struggling with his own life, and he is trying to deal with it. And the ticking just expresses anxiety. You can feel the anxiety. The ticking is a representation. Jonathan says he can hear this ticking, and that he can't hear the ticking realistically, but he is feeling the anxiety, the worry, the stress, the emotions of these events. However, the start of the film definitely is the glamorizing the life of the artist, right? It starts off as, he's writing musicals. He wants to change Broadway, and he has a house party when he doesn't have any money, and it all looks rosy.
But I think it captures really well this idea that you have to do something before you're 30. It's like this, we are all sub 30 now, we've achieved nothing, failures. We'll probably die.
We are genuinely. I completely agree with that.
We've achieved nothing.
But I agree. I'm 30 in 5 months' time, and it scares the fuck out of me.
I've 2 months. 2 months.
I've never been one to sign up to the idea that you need to be married or buy a house or all that by the time you're 30. However, like Jonathan Larson, I think I'm married to the fact that you need to do something slightly memorable before the time you're 30. Like he says, older than Stephen Sondheim was when he had his first show on Broadway, older than Paul McCartney and John Lennon when they finished writing together. And it's like, they've done that all the time before they're 30. And it's like, shit, I've done nothing with my life. And I completely agree with that.
Yeah, but you don't want to peak too soon. you don't want to peak too. You got loads of time. He's got ticking in his head. So let's just say it's a nice story piece, and it really hammers home that he's desperate to do something before he turns 30. Absolutely desperate. Be it host a little musical in the auditorium with his little friends and family. Just hang on to his girlfriend and stop her leaving him to go to upstate New York.
The Berkshires. I really enjoyed. So just let's touch on the music now. So like that beginning song of.
Before you do that, I just wanted to say, because I feel like you might put pressure on people with the 30 chat on, and I think, this film is talking about that. I think it's quite a narcissistic viewpoint to think you need to be known or need to have done something of note that people might remember you for. That is the life of an artist, for sure. But in regular life, you don't have to. Small achievements count. Just having a happy life for me is what you want around the time you're 30, for sure. It doesn't have to be some grandiose, I did this thing, but it is a terrifying age to reach.
I will stop on this. I will not comment on that because I think that comes into what my final little take at the end will come into more about how I watched this film when I would have been 26 and how it changed my viewpoint. But yeah, we'll come on to that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, just moving on to actually talking about the music. I love this first song. 3090 is an absolute tune. To be fair, the whole soundtrack is amazing. I still listen to this soundtrack from beginning to end all the time. And I love every song in it. And I love this one especially. Because again, we talk about at the start of the film how the opening monologue sets you up for the whole film. This song sets you up for how good the music's going to be throughout the film. And if you listen to the lyrics and it's talking about like him in his life, him turning 30, all of his friends, they're getting older, their hair's getting thinner. And it also touches on him and his relationship with Susan, and it's incredible. It just is.
I really enjoyed 3090 just because, as I said in Mamma Mia, well, as with all musicals, the first song is so important. And it was a bit of a get up and go. I'm not really sure what he's talking about, but I enjoyed it.
I think it just really sets out like how, as you said, how this impending deadline of him turning 30 is so important to him and how it's changing what he thinks and changing how he's reacting to things that are happening within his life at that moment. And it moves us on to, we find out more about Susan, about how she's a modern dancer. She was very close to sort of becoming a part of a company.
Making it big.
She got making it big. You're an idiot. She got an injury, had to take 6 months out, and how her viewpoint has now changed. She's a real artist. She wants to dance in front of 5 or 5,000 people. It doesn't matter to her. But knowing about her injury and knowing how long it's taken her to get back to even performing again, it sort of leads you to see how her viewpoint has changed in their conversation on the roof. And at the party, Susan and Michael are talking about, we find out Michael's moving out. So they talk about how is Jonathan going to be able to survive on this place by himself. He can't pay his bills.
He's ignoring all of that. He's like, he'll get to it. He's so focused on trying to make Superbia and try and become something that he's kind of just letting everything fall by the wayside. But as I say, the start of the film is quite chirpy. It's quite cheerful in this respect. It's not framing him missing these bills and debts and how Michael's moving out his flat. It's not framing that in a negative way. We know that these are bad things. But what we are understanding in the portrayal at this part is how Jonathan is feeling and how he wants the party. Because after 3090, we go into boho days.
Yeah.
And where he starts, at his house party, they start a sing-along.
Just before we get into the actual song of boho days, and I think touching back on how you say about how inclusive Jonathan Larson was in his own life, I think there's a really good point when they're talking, Michael and Jonathan are talking about how he's going to pay for this party. And he's like, you have no money. Why are you spending so much on party planning? I was like, who cares? Like, money's meant to be enjoyed with your friends.
And is that all? That's the same party where he runs into Finance Guy, right?
Oh, that's funny.
That is the same.
That bit's funny.
I really kind of enjoyed his contempt for the finance guy comes out. I'm the future of musical theatre.
It was great because he's taking the piss without it being obvious, because the finance guy, like, I used to sing, but it was just to get, and in his words, get pussy, which is
I hated that.
So rank. I hated this guy.
It's just like how Oz went into the choir in American Pie.
Oh my God, it is. and the finance guy is just awful. And Jonathan Larson's friend that brought him as a +1, I don't think he was meant to go. The finance guy, he kind of just invited himself. You could see he's pulling faces like, I'm sorry. And then Jonathan just kind of crushes him without him knowing, which is quite fun. And then the finance guy finishes off with, I love that guy.
I really enjoyed this whole scene. I really enjoyed Boho Days. I love the song. Again, I love every song.
This is the life, bo.
But it's basically like the song Boho is like basically it's an akin to like saying they live quite a bohemian way. Apartment doesn't work. You know, we have to shower while the other guy eats their breakfast. There's been 14 people who's lived here. It's a really enjoyable song. It also talks about how Jonathan viewed his life would be different. You know, I thought by this time I'd have a dog, a kid, and a wife. So it's also saying how he expected his life to be different. But it's also like, if you know Rent at all, there's a song in Rent called La Vie Bohème, which is again about them living a bohemian lifestyle. So it's also another through line to Rent. You get the reference of also, just before the scene, you also get the reference of Michael calling him Pookie, which is a big sort of plot thread in one of the songs in Rent. So
because Rent is still based upon his life. This is more of an autobiographical take, but Rent is, I think isn't. I haven't seen Rent, and I no spoilers for me, please, because I need it to come back on tour. Annoyingly, I missed it last year in the West End.
There's a film production of it with a lot of the original Broadway cast, which is good.
Rent is based around their apartment, right?
Yeah, there is. I'm not going to spoil anything because Rent is about a lot of different things. But it's the whole idea is them is trying to, like, the whole first song is about them trying to how they're going to pay rent on their flat.
They pay rent.
Funny enough, yeah.
Spoilers, everyone. They pay it. They pay it in the end. Capitalism wins.
Spoilers.
I don't know, they all die at the end. Capitalism still won.
Oh God! 3 Takes of Communism starts next week.
I really enjoyed it, Boho Days. Right after it finishes, the finance guy fucking loves it. He's like, "Oh my God, that was awesome!"
I immediately thought when this was all going on, firstly, Andrew Garfield's a fantastic actor. This movie was made for him, and Chandler's definitely fantasized about having this several times at his parties.
Oh, of course he has.
100%.
Chandler brings out his guitar, and you know how everyone else...
Whoa. That is not effing true. That is not fucking true.
We've started, so we'll finish.
I've seen so many pictures of you with your guitar, with your friends at like parties or like...
Whoa. That is not fucking true. That has happened like a genuine time of once in my entire life.
That has happened. That's all we needed to know.
And this is why Chandler's picked the right friends, because normally if the guy that brings out the guitar at a house party is a joke, right? They are a joke. Unless they are utterly amazing, even then they're a joke. But Chandler's picked the right friends because they all love it. And I think that's really nice.
Again, I'm just going to say this now. I've never actually brought my guitar out at a house party. I've brought it out. It wasn't even my guitar. We were like, genuinely, this is the only story that I have of playing guitar. Like, other than actually the previous one where I played it in front on a stage on a cruise ship. Once we were on holiday I was on holiday with like 20 other people in Greece. This was just before COVID. And we were at a restaurant and we happened to sit on a table next to a guitar. So all my friends were like, play a song. So I did, and we all enjoyed it. Even the waitress enjoyed it, and you can read into what happened after that.
They all smashed plates.
But anyway, moving on. Back to Tick Tick Boom.
What did you sing?
It was I'm Yours by Jason Mraz.
Good song. Cliche.
Very good song, very easy.
Very good song. Alex is physically cringing. The party introduces basically the whole cast. But something I want to point out is Vanessa Hudgens is there playing Caressa, who's one of their actor friends. Vanessa Hudgens was wheeled out, and I remember this quite vividly, for the press of this movie, non-stop. She was everywhere. She was in all the YouTube stuff, all the interviews. However, she is barely in it.
She sings loads of songs.
She sings loads, but she doesn't have. She's not. She doesn't really have like a character arc in it at all. She's just there to sing and perform.
She's High School Musical lady. She is obviously there to sing the songs and get all of the High School Musical fans to be like, look, another musical. Look, she's in it. Give us money.
If you want to force us one day to watch any of the High School Musical films, please put it in our hot bio. Don't put it in our hot. Please. Don't do it.
Please don't put it in our hot.
But if you do suggest it, we will put ourselves through torture.
No, I mean, it's not a dictatorship. You don't have that kind of power. If we don't want to watch it, we're not going to watch it.
Right, back to Tick Tick Boom. Alex, talking about how good Andrew Garfield is as an actor, you're right, this is incredible. This was actually, I think that, if I remember rightly, the first time that Andrew Garfield sings on set in front of people, which he was very nervous about because basically Lin-Manuel Miranda, who directed this, he gave Andrew Garfield a year to learn how to sing and basically set up that Boho Days would be the first because singing it a cappella is a little bit easier than obviously singing it to a piano or a guitar or drums. So that's why this was the first thing filmed, or the first song filmed, I think. So yeah, Andrew Garfield, I wish someone would pay me for a year to learn how to sing. Because that's the only thing stopping me from becoming a very famous musical actor.
That's not the only thing. If you had Lin-Manuel Miranda backing you and he was like, you're going to learn to sing, I'd be like, I'm going to learn to sing. I'm going to learn to sing. I'm going to be amazing at it. Because you told me I'm going to sing.
And this leads us on to their conversation between Susan and Jonathan on the rooftop, where it's freezing cold. Susan tells him about that she's firstly thinking about applying for this job as a dance teacher in the Berkshires. And it's her telling him that we don't have to live in New York. We don't, where it's expensive to make art. We can have a life in a nice, smaller town where we can both do our artistic endeavors, essentially. And I think that's really nice because it shows how Susan, she doesn't care. As I said, she's a real artist. She just wants somewhere to make art. It doesn't have to be expensive. It doesn't have to be this or that. It just has to be art. And she wants to do it alongside him.
Yeah, and it's a nice scene, but it's the first time we see Jonathan dodge the conversation and dodge the question. However, the horny little bugger, yeah, she gives him her jacket, and then she's way overdressed for this party, by the way, like so overdressed compared to everyone else, but she is wearing a stunning green gown, and he turns around straight away.
I didn't realize she has had a quick change because she's not wearing that earlier on in the night at the party. She's wearing something different.
Oh shit!
Again, it's a musical. Anything can happen. If the song's called Green Green Dress and she was just wearing her PJs, doesn't really work.
Nope. But the full song, it's played a sort of score at this bit.
But why has she done that?
Again, as Alex said, musical logic.
Musical logic.
Yeah, so this played a score as they start to get down and dirty. And I really love the cutaway of Michael putting his headphones on, just going, I don't want to hear my roommate have sex. I don't want to hear him have sex.
They're awful headphones from like having an old tape deck or Walkman, which have the like tiny bit that goes in your ears, and it's orange, and they look disgusting before you've even worn them, and then they only get more disgusting.
This is 1990, remember?
Yeah.
Of course they're going to be rubbish.
They were the headphones you had in like school in ICT class when you were like 4.
I really enjoyed it. And you cut, and then as they're getting down and dirty, she says, I've applied and they've offered it to me. Which, again, this thing of this, I will say it as it comes up. I do think Jonathan's being a bit unfair of how he's like being very single-minded in the approach to his production. But to be fair, he has obviously worked 8 years on this thing that he's finally getting like someone to watch it that isn't just his friends. But she's also being quite uncommunicative. Like she applied for this job without telling her about it. They've offered it to her. Again, this is the first time that Jonathan's hearing any about it. And I think of such a big job that requires relocation, you talk to your partner even before applying.
I think it does represent a big move in their relationship because they're not living together at this point. So they would move in together, and we don't actually know how long they have been together. So in real life, Susan doesn't actually exist. He was dating a dancer around this time in real life, and supposedly a dancer that cheated on him a whole lot. So not nice, like Susan comes across and is written in the movie.
A little bit like Rent.
Ooh, she pays her rent through having affairs.
Yeah, so it's not a real situation that he necessarily went through, maybe not in this way. But it does add conflict to him producing his art, which ultimately the film is about. But yeah, I think you're right, Chandler. That would be a huge move. I think she knows him really well, and that he would. We see how he treats his friends through this with certain decisions. So he thought Michael, his friend, was a great actor, and he can't believe he left his dream to go work in advertising. And he's really rude about it. I mean, to be honest, throughout the movie, Jonathan is not portrayed in a hugely positive light. I think you can tell he's a good person, but he's so blinded by his art that he's letting people down left, right, and centre. He's letting his partner down. He never wants to talk to her.
It's really interesting you say that, because there was an interview. Jonathan Larson's own sister did say this when the film was being produced. She told the production team, I want you to portray Jonathan Larson. I don't want you to portray some fictionalized version of him. You need to portray my full Jonathan, like warts and all, essentially. Which you're right. Like, I think at times when people are blinded by something that they've got their heart set on, they can become the worst version of themselves. But at the end of the day, the worst version of this Jonathan Larson character is still a pretty good bloody guy. Like, you can see how you can see how inclusive he is. You can see he doesn't care sort of who you are. If you're a good person, he'll be friends with you, sort of person. And he wants to drag people up with him instead of keeping people down. Like when he's talking to the Freddie and the other waitress, and he's like, you guys are going to be next. Like you've got a callback. You guys are going to be next.
You're going to get out the diner.
Exactly. I'm going to try, and if anything, I'm going to pull you up with me instead of wanting them to stay there.
But it is completely under false pretenses, because he's not got out the diner. Like, he's got this workshop. Nothing's guaranteed. He's just quit his job to work on it. And he's
but it's more than he had up until that point.
True.
To be fair, when you've tried to work on something for 8 years and someone's finally like, we're going to put on presentation, and he's heard stories of how previous people have had these presentations, and by intermission they've been offered checks. You know, that's hard not for Jonathan Larson to get his hopes up, essentially.
As you referenced, Chandler, the way he sort of treats people it's not understandable, but that's kind of how greatness is sort of made and manifested. Like we saw in The Social Network, you might not agree with how Mark Zuckerberg does it, but in the end, he achieves greatness.
Yeah.
Like that it happens a lot. Like John Lennon, terrible person, made some great art, really. You know, it's when people are just that good at something, you almost have to accept it, suffer, almost like, I don't know how to put it, like suffer locally so that it can be enjoyed by a mass audience, if you know what I mean. And you have to put up with that to get the reward.
I also think there is something to be said for, you have to separate the artist from the art.
And that.
I don't think I don't think this applies to someone like Jonathan Larson. I think it applies for the artists who are way, 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 way worse people.
Kanye West.
But anyway, let's move on. So we move on from that into them, Jonathan relaying relaying the information that Susan has applied for a job in the Berkshires. And I love Michael's line of, that is so far away from Midtown.
Yeah.
Really enjoyed that line. This is a nice little scene. Before we get into no more, it's a nice little scene of their friendship and how these two sort of banter with each other, and how you can see their friendship shine through. And this whole scene, again, it's an amazing bit in film editing, how this next song is presented to you. And it's basically a song about how Michael is moving out of his shitty New York apartment into this lovely apartment with, what kind of apartment building has parking attendants?
Yeah.
You know,
Michael coolly throws the keys to the parking attendant and has a doorman.
hardwood floors that are waxed as a wealthy girl's legs. You know how incredible this apartment is, and it's basically a song to say, if you give up your dream, and you find something else, you can have financial security and you can get this. It's basically a song of seduction, essentially. There's also another line to Rent in this film. It's like, no more walking up 6 flights of stairs because there is no buzzer, or you throw down the key. And throwing down the key is basically the start of Rent.
Oh.
It's like within the first 5 minutes of them throwing a key down to their friend, so they don't have to walk down the flights of stairs.
The song No More stands in contrast to Boho Days, whereas Boho Days is, this is the life of the artist, glamorizing ultimately the struggled life of the artist. No More, as you say, Chandler, is what happens when you give up your dreams of art and work in corporate, etc., etc. It's basically, this song is the yin to the yang of boho days.
I really loved, just staying on No More, I really, really enjoyed the last verse of Editing. Them coming through the door in their tuxes, and there's a line that that Jonathan sings of saying, "I could get used to this," and it's sort of saying that Jonathan could, and that comes up again later on in the film when he goes and does the focus group that this could be my life, and you can see that sort of seduction coming through as well.
You touched upon their friendship, Michael and Jonathan's friendship, which is I think a really, really nice part of the movie. And I want to say, similarly to this and similar to, as I mentioned, the show I've watched recently, Big Boys, there's not a lot of media that depicts straight male and gay male friendships. Hardly ever. I honestly don't think there's any as prevalent as this and the show Big Boys. I think that's really important. And look, we are three straight guys, and I remember going to uni and making some friends and people of different sexualities and making my first couple of gay friends. And I think for a lot of straight guys, that can be weird, don't know how to relate. And it's just like, well, maybe watch some of these films and watch some TV and maybe try, because it can be wonderful. Like, I think it's an important little through line and a thing to note about this movie, and something that people should take into real life.
There's James's advocate for being an ally.
Jonathan Larson was like the ally.
The ally, yeah.
I was certain he was gay 10 minutes in, and then he was like, I need to have a wife and kids. I was like, I was wrong.
You can be straight and love musical theatre, Alex.
Yeah, I know. But that's what I assumed. I assumed, and that was wrong. Following No More, he has the meeting with his agent, Ira?
It's not his agent, it's the guy who runs that musical workshop that is putting on Superbia. It's the only person in the musical world who is wanting to put this to stage Superbia.
Yeah, he meets him in the diner, and they have a little breakfast. The breakfast looked pretty good, by the way. That was the one note I made on this scene.
I think it's really enjoyable, this scene, because it shows an insight to some writer's block that Jonathan is saying, because he's basically trying to deny the fact that he needs another song in Superbia, but he wrote a whole song about sugar in an afternoon, essentially. It sort of shows how good of a songwriter he can be, but also how bad writer's block can be, which is, again, another thing that he feels anxious about. It's another sort. What's the word I'm looking for? It's another nail in the ticking, a reason why the ticking's happening for him. And then it comes on to him. So Ira asked the questions like, "Where's the song in the second act for?" I can't remember the name of the character in the show, but you need it. And he's like, "No one's ever told you." And he's like, "Yes, someone did. The most famous musical writer ever, Stephen Sondheim, told me." And I really enjoyed this sort of flashback to the workshop of, so Richard Kind plays like a lesser sort of musical writer, and Bradley Whitford plays Stephen Sondheim. I loved this little interlude. So before we come on to it, the bit in this scene of where Andrew Garfield's performing one of the songs from Superbia, and you have Richard Kind and Stephen Sondheim, Richard Kind and Bradley Whitford on stage playing their musical writers, it cuts to the audience, and it cuts to all the other probably aspiring musical theatre writers. And basically everyone you see in that is a very, very famous musical theatre writer.
Yeah.
They are people who have written your favourite shows or written your favourite songs, all that type of stuff.
Pulitzer winners.
But exactly. I'm not going to sit here and go through every single one of them, but go out, find out who they are, because they are amazing people. So yeah, just let's get that one out of the way. Very, very good scene of Richard, basically a lesser musical theatre writer, going, "I don't know what it is. I don't like it very much." And Stephen Sondheim going, "You're fucking wrong. You're fucking wrong, aren't you? It's amazing."
Yeah, this play knows exactly what it is.
And then Richard Kind just going, yes, of course, I completely agree with you, Stephen. I think we're saying the same thing, just in two very different ways.
Sondheim.
It's a perfect Richard Kind performance. Perfect.
Yeah, it is a really, really good performance. I love Richard Kind. He is brilliant in everything he pops up.
Can I just quickly ask James to say what prizes it won again?
What? Pulitzer.
Pulitzer. Not Pulitzer.
Pulitzer.
Pulitzer. They won some Pulitzers.
You'll be lucky to win a you'll be lucky to win a Pulitzer, let alone a Pulitzer. You shit stain.
Shit stain.
I just want to comment on the review Sondheim gave Superbia. So yes, I think it's important just to frame kind of where the story's at and why we're working to the song that Jonathan needs to write. Sondheim says, he believes the play knows exactly what it is. However, it lacks an emotional through line because the world kind of gets in the way of that. Disturbia is set, I believe, in the future, in a dystopian world, kind of. And he's been led to believe that will make and break the play.
Yeah.
And that's why he's worked on it for 8 years, essentially. And he's been told it by more than one person. And to be told it by Sondheim definitely means something. But would you guys say that unfortunately Sondheim led him down the wrong alleyway? Because by praising it and saying what it needs, he's then spent 8 years working on something that ultimately will fail.
No, I disagree. Completely disagree.
I thought the way you were going to go with that was that he's worked on it for so long. Sondheim says you're like 98% of the way there. If you write one more song, it's good to go. That almost like kills the drive because he's like, this is so close to being done. And it just needs this. So I'll just do it whenever I want. I'll just do it.
I also disagree with that. I think it's more, you're right. Sondheim says it's 98% there. You need one more song and it's amazing. I think that puts so much more pressure on that one song that it doesn't kill the drive. I think it more fuels his writer's block, essentially. Because he says, I think it's this point he says that the the praise he got from Sondheim kept him going for another 2 years. Like, he's basically spent 2 years trying to write one song. Like, that is the definition of writer's block.
Yeah.
He's now put so much pressure on this one song that's the reason it's not getting made. Therefore, that's what's fueled the writer's block. That's what's fueled the anxiety. That's what's fueled the ticking.
And the longer it goes on, the pressure builds and builds, and there's nowhere to get around it.
Exactly. Because again, James, I also think you're wrong in the sense of like, it's not Sondheim's fault that he's told him this is an amazing thing. But it's not Sondheim's fault that it's never going to get made.
Yeah, true.
It's Sondheim's just going, this is great work. Like, keep going. It's as we will come on into when we hear the song Play Game. It's more about America's capitalism and caring about the bottom line is one of the reasons this never gets fully produced. But this does lead us. But this scene after finding out that he needs one more song leads us into a room. As I say, it's him having writer's block. He's sat at the computer, can't write anything. And then he goes and watches a Sondheim show on the telly with Susan and Michael. He watches Sunday in the Park with George, I think it's called. And that leads us on into Johnny Can't Decide, which I think lays out basically the majority of his anxieties and the majority of the decisions that his friends have come to about what they want to do with their lives and how John himself, in theory, doesn't know what to do, right? It lays out that Susan wants a life with me. She's through with competition. So she's like, she wants to go out to the Berkshire. She wants to have an artistic life away from New York City. It talks about how Michael gave up being an actor. He sings his song now on Mad Avenue. He's, working in corporate America and in advertising. And ultimately, Johnny can't decide. Johnny can't, decide whether he wants to give it up for financial security, whether he wants to give it up and go have a life with Susan in the Berkshires. As you say, as Alex alluded to before, it's a sense of this artistic greatness that Jonathan thinks he has, which he does have, about you sort of have to take the drive of wanting that to come to fruition with the bad thing of, until it happens, you've just got to stick it out. You've got to take the rough of it. You've got to live through the unfortunate financial insecurity that comes with this. And the thing of like your partner or your friends sort of telling you should do something else.
I just want to touch on how the film is framed and how the story kind of follows along. This film is made with the fact that you know who Jonathan Larson is and what happened to him. But Tick Tick Boom was written by Jonathan to be a musical, which ultimately can just be him and a piano talking about his life, and
a semi-autobiographical musical that is all true except for the parts that he made up.
Yes, which is how the wonderful line of the film's opening. And what you have is that you have the real-time story happening. This film, looking back at his past, and it's centered around him performing it with. He's performing it with a band, him at a piano with singers Vanessa Hudgens playing Cressa Johnson and Joshua Henry playing Roger Bart. They're friends and performers of Jonathan Larson.
It's based on Roger Bart, the very famous musical actor as well, who's the voice. He's the original Carmen Gia in The Producers on Broadway. He's also the original Doc Brown in Back to the Future. He's also the singing voice of Hercules in Disney's Hercules. So there you go.
I mean, he's a very good singer in this film, like really exceptional. So the film is centered around in a meta way, Tick Tick Boom performing Tick Tick Boom. The bit the film all threads and bounces off of is Jonathan Larson performing Tick Tick Boom to an audience, assuming on its first show. You're getting two Tick Tick Booms. You're getting the true performance, and then the film bounces off into the past and shows you what was really happening around that time, which I think is nice.
Again, and you talk about the framing of the film. I think again that's another reason why the film editing is incredible in this film. Why it got nominated for an Oscar. Why it should have won an Oscar. Really, the whole idea behind this film is incredible. The framing, the editing, it's done so well.
Only has a week, as we know, to write this song that Sondheim and producer Ira request from him, and where his stress currently is, but it's only compounded when he learns from Caroline, who works with him at the diner, that Freddie is HIV positive and he's in hospital. We get alluded to him being unwell when talking about his T-cell count at the party, and I mean there's little moments throughout the movie of the AIDS crisis and Jonathan seeing posters or notice boards or things of it, and he I don't really know what they're for, but he's taking like notes, like writing little quotes down when he sees these things. I don't know if he was going to write songs about them.
So if you look at most of the sentences or phrases that are written down on those little notes, it's how the real Jonathan Larson used to like remind himself of things. It's like how you take notes in your notes app now. But the ones that are presented on screen to you, I think one of them is a reference to a song to lyrics that are sung in Rent. All the others, those are words or phrases that are sung within songs in the film.
Hey, I didn't notice that.
So Fear or Love, he writes down, which is a lyric in Louder Than Words. Why does it take a catastrophe to start a revolution? Is another thing that's sung in Louder Than Words. All of them are notes to himself, which are in this film sung later on.
Okay. So around Freddie's diagnosis, Jonathan is positive. It's going to be okay, etc. But it does lead into Sunday brunch at the diner with a man down, and the diner is busy as all heck, full, tensions are high, customers are being knobs, as they often are. And
so it was really enjoyable in this scene. Again, just to hark on about the ticking, he spells out his anxieties. He spells out the workshop is in a week. His friend is in the hospital. How can he think about his workshop when his friend's in the hospital? You know, he needs to speak to Susan, doesn't know what's going on with like her job and all that type of stuff. And it spells out his anxieties and basically goes, I'm not going anywhere. It's Sunday brunch at the Moon Dance Diner. And you talk about all the patrons being absolute wankers. Again, this is another massive scene of cameos. Literally everyone in that diner and all the people singing are people who have been in the most famous musical theatre shows and stuff. So this is one I can speak more to, that you've got Philippa Sue and Mary Elise. You've got Philippa Sue and Renee Elise Goldberry, who are the original Angelica and Eliza in Hamilton. You've got Lin-Manuel Miranda himself as the cook.
I think more importantly is a load of stars of Rent. Adam Pascal, Daphne Rubin Vega, Wilson Jermaine Heredia.
So they are the three bums near the end of the song who come up from out of nowhere.
And there's a load more people represented in this scene.
There's loads more. So, go look it up. But yeah, the whole song's really done really well.
I think the way that, like, as you say, the way that they show his like anxiety, obviously through the whole film, it's really good. But in this scene, like the 30 seconds where he's like, gotta do this, can't think of that, his friend is dying, gotta make sure the bread is made by Lin-Manuel Miranda, because he's obviously not a chef, he's just some guy who stepped in for the day off Broadway, absolute loser. It captures it so well.
I like the scene, and I think at this point in the film, we're really not glamorizing the artist's journey anymore. We're de-glamorizing the artist's journey. It is hard. Jonathan is letting all his relationships down, being really selfish, and I make him sound awful. He's not a bad person in the slightest, and I think you understand his struggle at this point in the film, but his friends potentially dying, girlfriend wants to move. Really, the story of the artist is pretty bleak.
Is there any sort of metaphor in the front of the diner falls off and it's a big white world? Is there like something in that?
The song Sunday is actually a harken back to, as I said, that you see a scene of them watching sometimes Sunday in the Park with George. So it's a little bit play on that. So Sunday in the Park with George is based on that. I think the type of art is called pointillism. So Sondheim wrote Sunday in the Park with George based on a pointillist picture, which at the end of that song that's what it's supposed to give you a frame of the diner being in a pointillist picture, essentially. So I think that's what the play on is at the end of the song.
God, we've come so far from just endless knob and fart jokes. Now we're an art extraordinaires podcast.
This leads us on to Play Game, which, as I said before, is a really good counterpoint to art in America, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Pay you that, it's basically alluding to, it doesn't matter, art doesn't matter about America. All they care about, not just in America, in capitalism as a whole, really. Three Takes of Communism coming out next week. It alludes to the fact of, fundamentally, we don't care about the product. All we care about is the bottom line.
Yeah.
Is this going to make us money? And unfortunately, with most things in the world now, that's all it's about.
Yeah.
They're going to pay you thousands. It doesn't matter if it's rubbish. It doesn't matter if it's this. You're going to write for TV. You're going to make thousands of dollars for a first draft. Fundamentally, all that matters is about the bottom line. And I think this is really juxtaposed in a really nice way. I also think the really funny bit is when you see Andrew Garfield performing with the pink hat,
horrendous
by himself. It's so good. It is so good.
So, yeah, you're completely right. I mean, it's art being dumbed down for capitalism to make the most money and not actually be able to be critical of anything, as it won't make any money.
It's also as we learn later in the film, that Superbia never gets produced, right? And it's a foreshadow for that. It's a foreshadow for it doesn't matter. Fundamentally, all we care about profit is. And as we learn what Superbia is, in 1990, you can go, okay, that's quite an expensive thing to produce. So it's hard to make a profit. So it's not going to get produced, essentially. It's too much of a risk, unfortunately.
And a line in the song is just forget Shakespeare, don't forget.
Yeah.
There's no time for true art in the modern day. And I think really nicely, this song, we see Andrew Garfield with the pink hat on sideways, cliche rapper, but white boy rapping. And it's so, on the editing, it's so well done. So before Jonathan Larson performs it, it's more of almost a mini music video with the rap artist Black Thought. Black Thought is a conscious rapper, is called, talks about hard hitting subjects, really, really good rapper. I was like, what the hell's he doing here? Didn't remember this from the first time I watched it. But that cut at the end of Jonathan Larson performing That's the Play Game is hilarious. But also in the credits, when you see real footage, you see the real Jonathan Larson perform it as well. And I thought that was wonderful, and it's just as goofy. And I love how they recreated it as well.
This was one of many songs where I just got reminded that Lin-Manuel Miranda was directing. Because that these two showed up on, they were doing it, and Lin would be like, no, guys, just like this. And then he would just do the full song, all the choreography, everything. He'd be like, just like that. Right, let's go again. Let's go now.
One thing I hate and love about watching films like this, and you can say the same with Hamilton, or you can say the same with, I don't know, many other films. I am so jealous of how talented people are. I come away from this film and just go, do you know what? I wish I was as talented as Jonathan Larson. I wish I was as talented as Lin-Manuel Miranda, but unfortunately, I'm just fucking not.
It's not possible.
One of the things I don't struggle with it in musical theatre per se, but I think musical theatre songs often sound very musical theatre. They don't sound like real songs. And one thing I enjoyed about this movie, and I think is a testament to really high quality musical theatre, is they don't sound like musical theatre songs. this didn't sound like a cringy rap track for musical theatre. It sounded like a rap song. And a lot of the music in this sounds like real... I don't want to say real music because that means that I'm putting a negative on musical theatre when that's not the case. But I do think
You are.
It's a different art form and it's a different form of writing. But a lot of these could be pop songs.
But as I said, okay, I would disagree with you in the way that saying like musical theatre songs can't be pop songs, because I think you will be very easily proven wrong.
No, but that's not, no. There's a difference between charting and there's a difference between genre.
I know what James is saying. Like, musical theatre has, obviously it's for the stage.
It has a sound.
It has to have like a, whereas a charting song doesn't really have to have the.
It's not that they won't chart, but I'm talking about genre. So generally, musical theatre songs aren't built for the charts, and they aren't pop songs by genre. They are musical theatre songs. Doesn't mean they won't be popular, but these
very good Wicked reference there.
These songs do not sound like musical theatre songs. Popular.
I won't disagree with you. However, what I will say is I think that comes on to a testament of how talented people like Jonathan Larson and Lin-Manuel Miranda are, because obviously Lin-Manuel Miranda's done it as well with things like In the Heights and Hamilton, obviously.
Moana.
What? Moana.
Love
Encanto.
Moana.
All right, let's stop naming
Encanto.
Lin-Manuel Miranda stuff. But anyway,
he's done all of these. I know he did Hamilton on this, but Christ.
Yeah, with Jonathan Larson, as we said at the beginning, he revolutionised what musical theatre can be. And if you go and watch Rent, and you'll say the same things about the songs within that. So I think it's just another testament. Like his previous musical also did the same thing.
Talented as hell.
Exactly. As I say, it's why I'm fucking jealous of people like that. But anyway, I like how the song ends, because its song ends again in a really funny way of the Black Thought, the rapper you mentioned. He goes, "I'm here to read," in a really like stagery, actory voice of like, "I'm here to read for the part of Old Deuteronomy," which is a character in Cats, I think. So I think it's a really funny juxtapose of him singing about how bad capitalism can be, and then saying, "Right, I'm going to go read for one of the most successful musicals ever," which is about fucking nothing. But anyway.
Gotta make your money. Gotta pay them bills.
So this leads us on to the song that's called the Sextet montage, I think. It's not actually in the soundtrack, and there was a big backlash of this not being in the official Tick Tick Boom soundtrack, that they had to release it anyway, just as a separate song. It's really interesting. But this is where we finally find out what Superbia is actually about. Because it's been alluded to the fact that it's been set in the future and it's this dystopian future. But again, it talks about how people of the future are obsessed with seeing the rich and famous on their tiny screens.
Yeah.
And it's genuinely,
real life.
When you hear that, you're like, oh my God, that's what fucking life is now.
Yeah.
And you're like, not only is he fucking talented, he's fucking prophetic as well.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's so accurate. I mean, we live our poor lives struggling to make paycheck to paycheck while we open up a phone and we look at influencers who dance on TikTok and make loads of money and comment on the rich and famous while we just get poorer. I mean,
and let's hope that Three Takes Stupidity come on the other side of that line eventually.
We're going to dance for you fuckers and you're going to enjoy it.
Alex has danced to at least 4 of these, and Chandler had a full-on sing earlier, so you are... We're primed and ready.
Keeping up with the 3 takes.
Our Patreon will be £100 a month. Help us. We are pro and anti-capitalism all at the same time.
Yeah, I think we are. I think that's what most of this film's about.
Yeah, but it's, unfortunately, like, you might be against something, but you have to live it.
But yeah, I really enjoy this whole scene of it. Basically takes you through the week of the rehearsal and preparation of the presentation he has at the end of. I just said presentation that he has at the end of the film, at the end of the week. But it also sets us up for something else, because it also sets us up for Susan constantly asking about the job. Michael wants to talk to him about something that he sort of brushes away, and it's got to be after the presentation. Everything is after the presentation.
Well, he's already told Susan that he'll talk to her like 7 times, and we've heard about Wednesday, and she's like, it's Monday. No, it's Tuesday.
But as we said, this comes up to like after everything falls by the wayside. The presentation is the most important thing to him. I think like Susan comes round, sees all the dishes, sees how dirty the apartment is, and goes, what the fuck is going on with you? And he's like, after the presentation, everything has to be after the presentation. The next one we get is therapy, a modern recreation of a relationship, or I can't remember the exact line he says. But like, I think there is something to be said for, yes, she has a deadline of they need to talk about their future together by Wednesday or Thursday, whenever it is. He's also been working on this musical for like 10 years. Like, give the guy a break. Like, this is the culmination of 10 years of work. Like, you can sort of see why he's so stressed about it.
He's putting more importance on his own things and forgetting everyone else's when they're considered just as important. Like, it's not fair. Like, his actions aren't fair.
Yeah.
Just because he's doing something musical and bettering himself doesn't mean that, his partner... Yeah, his partner
But she's also doing something in dance as well, which is
she
also
wants to be a
artistic
teacher
as well.
and continue with modern dance that involves them moving, and she also wants to prioritize their relationship because ultimately she wants him to go with her. And we find out in this scene that she actually says, "I want you to tell me not to go," but he's not told her anything.
But I think the importance of this scene, the message of this scene, and the message of the song Therapy, which again is acted fucking brilliantly by Andrew Garfield. And again, you put this scene in front of anyone and you go, okay, that guy deserves a fucking Oscar. And I'll be honest.
Oh yeah, the performance Therapy is amazing.
Just from this scene, Vanessa Hudgens also deserves some sort of award because she's fucking brilliant in this as well. She deserves to be nominated for an Oscar for supporting actress. Fucking amazing.
Preach.
But anyway.
I think she suffers from High School Musical, doesn't she? She gets put down because she was in that when she's a very talented actress.
The message of the scene is basically how important all forms of communication are in a relationship. Because this whole song is, I feel bad about you, feel bad about me, feeling bad about you, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, and the culmination of the song goes, I didn't want to tell you that because it could be seen as codependency or, afraid of what you'll say about the ring because the ring's bored me and all this. And then she says, I just wanted you to tell me not to go. Fucking tell him then. Fucking, at the start of when you said I've been accepted for this job, like tell each other, talk to each other about the feelings.
Pressure on
I
her.
hate. Wait, one sec. No. I hate how it's one of my real big things in films about how if people just sit down and talk about their feelings, it does away with all of this. It does away with all this confusion, and it's used as such a trope, not in this film. But not just in this film, but in a hell of a lot of films and TV, of people just avoiding talking to their loving partners about their actual feelings.
But I think you're putting. I find that I find that in a lot of this discussion, whether you mean to or not, you are putting lots of fault onto Susan when Susan has, regardless. Yes, she applied without him knowing, but that's whatever. Like people do that shit. Which
again, communication. Communication.
But
that's a big.
However. A lot of the way you have framed this is putting her down, when in actuality, the real fucking problem here is Jonathan Larson has not wanted to speak to her and has put off the conversation for her. He is the problem. Yes, I agree. They need to sit down and have a fucking conversation about their relationship, where they want to go, what they're doing, blah, 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 blah. However, he has put her off up and even asked for an extension to her accepting the job offer. He is being outrageously selfish. Like, absolutely awful. She is not the problem here. If we're talking percentages, it's 20-80. Like,
I would say that both of them are the problem. I would say him.
Nah, you're reaching so
But here's
hard.
the thing. But here's
I'm
the
not
thing.
having it.
No.
I'm not having this
But here's the
at
thing.
all.
But here's another thing. As I've said, everything is after the presentation, because ultimately, after the presentation,
Life doesn't stop because of his fucking presentation.
Their lives could change.
Yeah, but his life doesn't stop because of the presentation.
Can I have a fucking go?
Go.
Basically, I think that they can't understand each other. She can never understand what it takes to make a musical and put all this stuff together in it. She can't. She's got no way of knowing what's going on inside his head. That's why he's a genius. He, on a very similar footing, has no idea that she just wants to go be a teacher, have a nice life, settle down, live in Berkshire or whatever it is, whatever they call it. It's probably Berkshire, isn't it? Pronounced that way. She just wants to go there, and she's like, you come here, you can work on it from here, and it'll be nice. We'll just settle down. He's like, no, you don't get what I'm doing. She's like, you don't get what I'm doing. As much as they communicate, they're just...
But even still,
he's incredible.
You're missing a point.
And she's very meh.
This is brutal. Like, life...
I just wanted to get James on that one.
Life doesn't stop because of his poxy presentation. And everyone around him is supporting him non-stop. And he, throughout this movie, because he's so talented and ultimately he creates something, blah, 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 you might want to absolve him for anything. But that is wrong. He is letting everyone around him down. And one of the big points of the film is his realization of him letting everyone around him down.
Yeah, but we all agree about that. We all agree that what he's doing
for me
is
in this, I do not think she is as blame. Yeah, they need to communicate. She literally is trying. She has tried so many times, and he says no, 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 and then even asks her to do an extension to take the job offer, which is absolutely outrageous. I do not understand any blame towards Susan in this scene. It is outrageous. And if anything, it's telling me about your arguments in your own relationships.
But here's the thing I was trying to say before, of like, her decision to either take this job or not is life-changing, because it obviously involves in relocation. Not knowing what happens until after the presentation could also be life-changing. Yes, we now know that nothing changed after this presentation.
You said yourself he can do the job from there.
But he can't produce a Broadway musical from the Berkshires. Do you know what I mean? Like,
why not?
So what I'm saying is...
Sounds commutery.
What I'm saying is... Shut up. It's not. It's in fucking Massachusetts, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
but anyway, what I'm trying to say is, from the stories that Jonathan has presented to us, that someone has offered to produce their musical within the intermission of this own presentation, that could happen. So I think it's unfair for both of them to expect a decision that week, really. I do think...
She has a deadline, and he is ignoring her.
That's because he's taking his show onto Broadway. She just wants to go dance in a field.
No, we don't know he's doing shit.
She wants to dance in a field.
They're both important, but they're important to each other. She, like as I say, she cannot understand what it takes to make a Broadway musical. He cannot understand what it takes to just go be a singer.
We've learned throughout the film that Superbia is a failure. We've learned throughout the film that Superbia for 8 years...
No, we don't know that until
It's supported by Stephen Sondheim.
No, we know that for 8 years he's been trying to get this made and he has failed. And this is the last opportunity. It's not like this is the one and done. He has failed so many times with Suburbia.
No, he hasn't failed though, because he took it to a workshop, got told to write one more song, and hasn't wrote a song for 8 years. He just has had writer's block.
But do you think he's not been trying to do things to get it written, to get it made in that time? Like, he's tried to get it made in those 8 years.
I think we should move on from this.
You guys hate
Going
women.
back to the actual... A final bit on Therapy. Fucking love the song.
Incredible.
Best song.
Yeah. The performance is unbelievable.
I don't know.
Best song, best performance, the acting, the parallel editing between the show and the apartment's fantastic.
Yeah. It is amazing. I've generally always thought me and my partner should try and perform this for some TikTok.
I was going to say, if we get 500 listens on this singular podcast, and one
that ain't fucking happening. That ain't fucking happening.
If a TikTok from this also, or a TikTok goes viral from this record, Chandler will perform this song.
Yes, and James will dance in the other chair.
Alex will be Vanessa Hudgens.
I've got the tits for it. Next scene is the scene is the focus group scene, but leading up to it, we sort of see Jonathan's hunt for money. It's a bit low on the cash. So he starts selling things like, what does he sell? He sells his records for $50, even though they're going to be sold for, and I quote, 11 times more than what he's going to get for them. He, as part of that run to get more cash, he joins a focus group with the advertising agency.
Let's point out that he's not trying to pay his bills. Like, he's not selling this stuff to pay his bills, to keep his electricity on. He's doing it to have more musicians at his workshop.
I enjoy this scene. I think it's a testament to how creative Jonathan is. I think it shows the levels that are in creativity between different types of people. I don't think we need to spend too much time on this, but I do love it's the thing of Jonathan could be seduced in the, like, I could Like, they love him straight away. They're like, this guy's fucking amazing. And he's like, I could get used to this. Yeah, I could get used to this.
This could be my life.
And then I really enjoy the switch of when it goes, right, here's what we're doing it for. We're doing it for a fat, like, fat-free oil substitute. And he's like, and the music in the background instantly turns more sinister. And it's like, oh, this shit could be my life. This is fucking depressing as fuck. I love that. I love the joke. I fucking love the joke.
They're coming up with ideas, and he's like, you just said the same thing she said. But it's like, yeah, but I switched the words from free oil to oil free. And he's like, and then he goes, I've got it. And builds them up. They're so excited. They think he's fantastic. And he stands up and he goes, Chubstitute.
I love the name. I think that would sell. I think that would sell.
So funny. But then obviously Michael is like really angry at him after the focus group because, you know, it's his life and Michael respects his life. And he's starting to allude to things about time. There's a couple of allusions that I don't have the time. And he's like, you get to go and marry who you want and have kids. And I don't get that. And they're like, half of our friends are all dying.
And I also appreciate the allusion to the fact that, you know, Jonathan can go and live a life with someone he loves and not be looked down upon. Whereas Michael in that day and age can't. Like, you know, the homophobia that is rampant within America in the, you know, late 80s, early 90s.
And Jonathan's perpetuating it in a different way. He's putting Michael down for his life choices. He's putting Michael down for his choice of career, leaving acting, etc. And it's just another thing to beat Michael with, who's going through an experience that Jonathan can't truly understand. He can only be supported of, which he hasn't really been a supportive friend for a while in the runtime of this movie.
No More, the tune of No More is played as score underneath Jonathan doing the very sort of quintessential ADHD thing of, I'm going to clean my entire flat before I actually go towards the problem at hand of writing the next song that is needed for this musical. I also really enjoy in this bit, there's a bit where he sat on the toilet looking at some sort of swimsuit magazine, and I think it's alluded to the fact that he was going to have a wank until his cat looks at him and he goes, no, I know, I can't do that. Did you catch that bit? Because I'd never caught that.
I did.
I caught the cat, but I didn't know why.
He was going to have a wank. He's about to sit down and his electricity gets cut. And he calls the company going, why can't I pay over the phone? And he's like, fuck, the electricity's gone. He tries and calls Susan, gets her roommate. She doesn't want to talk to him for obvious reasons. And then he's like, right, what the hell can I do now? And he's like, well, I'm going to go swimming. And I do think that doing some form of physical activity is actually a really nice way to get your mind off some problems at hand. It's a way to de-stress, decompress about every other anxiety in your life, and it's a chance just to, you know, rethink. But, don't agree with me, Alex?
But what would you know about that? What would you know about that?
What do you mean? I go to the gym a lot and it helps.
Oh, right, yeah, you do exercise every day for 12 hours. Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, you were quite well seated to have a say on that then.
I do like I do like how, but in this song of swimming, like it goes. I think it's a really good way to show how your mind can work at that thing of like, okay, I've got a problem in front of me. I've got to write a song. I'm going to go do something else. I'm going to swim. You know, it shows how your mind can really unlock things when it's concentrating on something else, which I agree with, and I like the depiction of that in this song.
It's like how when the word's on the tip of your tongue, or you can't find the name of someone in your head, and then you remember it when you're not thinking about it. And so in this, he's not thinking about the song anymore, and he says swimming is his therapy, I guess, leading back to the last song. Swimming is one of his coping mechanisms, and that's where he finds the inspiration.
I had a little James moment when I saw him stop at 30. I was like, oh, he stopped at 30 because 30 is his big fear, and he cannot go past the 30. He has to stare into the 30 until the 30 becomes all, ugh. It's exactly what I think when you're like, oh, he put his shoes on left and then right. That must mean that he's moving further politically to the left. Mm.
Like, Alex, symbolism exists.
I really like the melodic tune of "Come to Your Senses" appearing at the end of Swimming, and then it takes us all the way through to Jonathan Larson stood in the center of his rehearsal space, just going, "Why the fuck is no one here yet?" And it's like, you've got another hour until it's actually supposed to start, so you're fine. And that big whole relief of like the weight is off his shoulders, and he finally hands over this fully written song to Caressa, ready to sing it in an hour. I love this whole next bit. I love his parents coming to be supportive of him, and they're all they're asking is if he's okay. Are they paying you? And he's like, next time. And I really, really, really enjoyed the interaction of his parents going, oh look, he's reserved us a seat, and he's gone, no, that's not for you. He's like, what? They're like, what the hell? They instantly turned going, you could literally seat anywhere else. I love you. Now go away. I love that. Because that is such a depiction of what me and my parents would be like in this situation.
I love that his parents are like what you said, when he says, are they paying you? And he's like, no. And they're like, that's okay. Next time, eh? It is so nice. It's so good.
Because normally, a lot of parents would be like, fuck them.
Yeah.
How dare they not pay you?
They understand it's a step. It's just a step that he has to take, and that's fine.
And I also like he sort of lets people, Michael shows up, and he's just like, of course I'm going to be here, no matter fucking what. Wild horses, and they have a lovely hug and a lovely interaction. Yeah. And then he's like delaying the start of it because he's nervous, but B, he wants Susan to be there. He's waiting for Susan. He's 100%.
Yeah, I thought Sondheim as well.
No,
I thought he was waiting for Sondheim.
No.
Is that not who the reserved chair is for?
No, the reserved chair is for Susan. Sondheim comes in late.
It must, and also, I guess it is for Susan. What confirms it is the when it. Sorry, the end of the film when it's him. The end of him performing the Tick Tick Boom performance, and the reserved seat at the front that says Susan.
The reserved seat is for Susan because Sondheim comes in and sits somewhere else. Obviously, sits at the back. But no, I think it's really good that it shows you how Sondheim has come again to support him.
From what I researched, Sondheim was really supportive of him quite a lot in his
he was
fledgling career, trying to get his things made and put him in contacts and stuff.
And then we finally get the performance of "Come to Your Senses," this brand new song that's not even 12 hours old, and it's amazing. This is where
it's so beautiful.
This is where I start to cry every single time I've watched this film, and that is multiple times. This is the exact point at where I start to cry.
Do you cry from this point all the way to the end?
Basically, yes.
Okay.
This is where the tears definitely begin.
Like, this whole song, and not just the song, again, we've said it many times already, the editing, the juxtaposition of Susan singing it to Caressa singing it, back to Susan, back to Caressa, their vocal performance on this song.
They're both amazing.
It's so good. There is a video of you see Vanessa Hudgens performing the entire song on YouTube somewhere, and it's so fucking good.
Whose performance did you prefer?
Oh, that's such a hard question.
I know my answer. I like both. It's not a problem.
I don't know. I think Alexandra Ships. Just maybe. Oh, it's hard though.
Alex
Hutchins.
So I'm Alexandra Shipp.
Yeah.
I thought I think that might be because this song
her?
With him writing it, he understands. Yeah, totally love her. The song, him writing this song is proof that he's starting to understand how he's making other people feel. And this song was written for Superbia, but it fits with the story of Tick Tick Boom.
Yeah.
And it leads on to the later on when his agent Rosa says, write about what you know. And I feel like this is the first time he's really written about what he knows. And yeah, the performance is really, really incredible.
I think the reason Alexandra Ships, I don't know, just pips it for me, and I mean that in the literal sense, like, oh my God, like, it's so hard to choose between those two performances of this song. It's just because I think as you're watching the film, the emotional
I completely agree.
Scent of Alexandra Shipp and Susan's journey with Jonathan is obviously carrying you through this song.
That's where the weight is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as I said, this makes me cry. Genuinely, this makes me cry every single time I watch this. And then I'm just crying for the next half an hour. I love it. I think that's why this is probably my favorite song from the show.
It's very good.
I don't know, I fucking love every song in this show, as I've said 4 times already. But this is just, I don't know, the next half an hour of songs, this, even Real Life, which, is just Robin de Jesus just singing Is This Real Life and over again. It still hits you so hard. Into Why, into Louder Than Words. I'm just fucking crying my eyes out the whole time. And it's amazing because every song is fucking amazing.
But the song goes down really well, and you feel like the presentation went down really well, but it immediately brings you back down to earth with him talking to Rosa, the agent, who showed up. He tried to call her to get people to show up earlier, and then he had to call people instead. Turns out she actually did get people to go, by the sounds of it. Just didn't tell him.
Can I just check? Rosa, is she deliberately meant to be Estelle from Friends, or is that just a coincidence?
She's cliche agent, isn't she?
Yeah. But this scene is heartbreaking. And even though, again, I've seen this multiple times, I know it's coming, my heart still fucking breaks every single time Rosa tells him no one's going to do it. It's too expensive. No one's going to shell out $50 to come watch something with aliens and robots in the future and stuff. Again,
he's like, that's not what it's about.
And I would also like to say, I wish Broadway tickets were still $50. But anyway.
Yeah. She says it's too arty for Broadway and too expensive for off-Broadway. Yeah. And that he's fucked. He's like, what do I do now?
And it comes down to, as we said, when Play Game is said, it's all it comes down to is the bottom line in America. Is it going to make some producer money? That's all they care about. They don't care about the art. And she tells him, in saying this, I think Rosa tells him some good, like the best advice any writer can hear, really, is write about what you know.
Yeah.
And I think you hear it all the time. Like comedians say it all the time. Write what you know and write what's funny to you. And someone else out there will find it funny and you can have a career off of that. More importantly, you keep writing, you keep going, you keep doing it, you keep throwing shit at the wall until something sticks.
Did you cry at that bit?
Yeah, I'm crying from fucking start of Come to Your Senses.
That's not that sad
to the end of the film.
She's like, that's not
that sad to you.
I kind of expected it.
Fuck off, that's not that sad to you.
Nah.
It is shown to you how... No, fuck off. That it is shown to you how heartbreaking and how much time he has spent on this show for someone to go, it was fucking amazing, but we're never going to produce it. That is fucking heartbreaking.
No, that's just life. You fail. I was more sad that Jonathan is now dying of AIDS as well.
What?
We'll get there.
Jonathan's not dying of AIDS. Do you mean Michael?
Michael's dying of AIDS. I was more sad by that.
Idiot.
Alex, this scene is sad because you see Jonathan break. His dreams are crashing down.
He breaks. He runs to Michael. He runs to his best friend and goes, fuck this. I'm quitting. I don't want to do it anymore. I can't take another 10 years writing something while Broadway churns out mega musical after mega musical. And he's like, I want what you have. I want the money. I want the apartment. I want the car. I want everything.
The one line with Rosa, and that is, what do I do now? And that line broke me. Alex, that's where it's emotional. It's not about Rosa telling him to write the next one, which it sounds painful, monotonous, like rejection, write the next one. But it's just, what do I do now? And she was going to get off the phone, but she shows a bit of human side of her and, stays on the phone, picks up the phone off speaker, says it directly to him. Let me give you some advice. She's kind to him. But he is broken. And then, as Chandler says, then he runs to his best friend to be like, I need a job, please get me a job. After he's already, earlier in the movie at the focus group, been
a dick.
Really rude about his job, dick about his job.
I really like this bit. And again, it's a massive show of friendship from Michael. And he goes, you can't give up what you have. And he's like, well, you did it. And I was like, well, I was a shitty actor. Like, you don't need any more of those in New York City. There is only one Jonathan Larson. It's like a real show of support and friendship of like, no, I'm not going to let you give up because I know as your best friend how special you are. And then we find out, as Alex has said, like, I'm running out of time. And then Michael goes, I'm running out of time. I have AIDS. So I know what running out of time actually feels like.
And that's when he asked, why didn't you tell me sooner? But he tried.
Exactly.
Jonathan wasn't giving anyone else the time of day.
Exactly.
And that's just, this is where real life kicks in.
And great framing of real life. Michael, Robin de Jesus' performance of this is so powerful with such few words in a song. And
it's brutal. Like this song absolutely kills me. His performance is amazing, and you feel it. And this is where I definitely cry. Like
I'm still crying. And you see the shots of of Jonathan just running and running and running. And again, it's the sign of the ticking is still in the background, and it's getting louder and louder and louder. And it's a show of how much weight has he's feeling.
And it jumped straight into Why by
Jonathan Larson,
which is Jonathan Larson, which is he's found this
every fucking song is by Jonathan Larson.
No, real life isn't.
And this one is by...
I thought you meant like written. I thought you meant written.
No, performed. And Why is about his life growing up with Michael. And it's so...
beautiful. Normally, if I'm crying at a film, something will happen in the film and I will cry for like 3 or 4 or 5 minutes, depending on how sad it is. This film, as soon as Come to Your Senses start, I start crying. And then it just gives me more and more reasons to keep crying. And this is one of them. Like, real life keeps you crying. He's gonna, like, you think he's gonna lose his best friend due to a disease, and then Why happens, and you're like, learn about all their friendship. And it's
Michael didn't want to sing, and they performed and stuff together.
I just want to cry.
I
want to cry now.
I'm assuming it's. I think it's footage they shot. I don't think it's real footage, but like it's framed as old.
Yeah, it's
home movie footage of them performing and stuff. This section of the film, from I just think Come to Your Senses, as Chandler said, he cries all the way through, to Why and further on, it's just killer. And Why that, like, Andrew Garfield's performance is incredible. Not just the singing, but the emotion he puts through in the song. Is the line in it, what a way to spend the day?
What a way to spend a day. Now you know why I'm not a musical theatre actor.
It's so good. And I really like the concept of it. Just think, like, what a way to spend a day. You do something small and joyous, and that is a nice way to spend the day. It's so good.
I'm really happy you said that, actually, because I actually completely agree with you on that. I think just find something you love to do every day, and you'll be happy. It doesn't have to be grandiose. It doesn't have to be grandiose.
Going bowling.
Exactly. It doesn't have to be grandiose. It doesn't have to be massive and loads of people watch you. It just has to be something that you enjoy doing, that you have fun, and you have friends alongside of you doing it. And I think I actually think that speaks a lot of truth.
And if you can write a musical song about it, it's even better.
After Why, he comes back to Michael and says, look, whatever the fuck happens, I'm here for you. And they have a cry.
Michael's like, you look like shit.
Yeah, I really enjoy that. Because that is true friendship. I'm saying something to you really profound, and like, I'm here for you no matter what. And it's like, you know what? You look like shit. I love that. Because that is true friendship. just insulting your best mate when they're like, I love you.
and he's possibly dying.
Yeah, exactly.
It's worth saying that the person that Michael was based on, Matt O'Grady, I think we mentioned it earlier in the podcast. He survived and is around this day.
Yeah.
Which is really beautiful, because as it's mentioned, half of their friends are dying. This was true epidemic and disaster.
And it leads us on to it's his 30th birthday. So we're back at the diner on a Sunday. I think it's supposed to be February 4th is his birthday, something like that.
Yeah.
And I love his friend going, there's a teeny part of me that isn't that's happy that you're still here. I enjoy that line of friendship as well. Freddie's getting better. You're right.
And Freddie wants to shout at his agent.
Yeah.
Freddie wants to kill your agent or something, give a piece of his mind.
What do you guys think to the little scene and interaction between Susan and Jonathan?
I have strong feelings.
It's strong feelings.
Are we going to start shouting at each other again?
Yeah, I think so.
No. I just, no, strong feelings. I just loved it. Like, I think it's one of the best scenes in the film, because I think earlier in the movie they've gone shopping or somewhere, and he's seen this leather book to write music in.
And she hands it to him as a present, and it's great.
They've essentially broken up.
Yeah,
but she took the job. They're breaking up, but they're having a moment together. They truly love each other, but she's got him a birthday present, and he's like, you shouldn't. And she's got him that book that he couldn't afford, and I think it's really sweet. And it's just how small gestures can be so meaningful.
I really love it because I think it shows that they still care about each other. And, you know, circumstance, unfortunately, is one of the reasons why they can't be together. I love the present. I'm still crying when this is happening.
Yeah.
I love it. I think it's done. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. I just love it.
I think it's a really good showing that love isn't just, I need to go work over here, so you should come with me. Love is knowing when it's best for the person to not grow apart, but let them do their own thing.
For me, I found after this point that you get the movie starts to finish quite abruptly. You cut to the narrator at this point, which is now Susan, I believe. No, so I don't know if it's a coincidence or this is how Jonathan Larson intended Tick, Tick, Boom is the point I'm making. But I find that the film ends abruptly and we get the narration now into the future of Jonathan Larson's life, where he went on to write Rent, which we know is huge. But unfortunately, he died of an aortic aneurysm the day before its first performance. So he never got to see it. He died at 35 years old. And I think the movie ending abruptly is just like how his life and career ended very abruptly. And this is when I first watched this film, and I could cry now. Like, I didn't know. Christ alive, I bawled my eyes out. I had no idea about this guy, and I was heartbroken because I didn't know. At first, I found out it was a true story. I didn't take much credence to the start of the movie when they say until we lost him, and then to find out it was all true. And I remember, I just cried for ages. It was heartbreaking. And then he goes on to perform Louder Than Words, and it's the final song of Tick, Tick, Boom, and it's just gorgeous.
I thought that Louder Than Words at the end was exactly what a musical should be. All of the feelings, all of the time.
Louder Than Words, I think it's such an amazingly written song. I love all the things, you know, you see Sondheim's there, you see the finance guy is there, which is really funny. You know, and it says, you know, you have a few of the lines that you see Jonathan written down in the films, comes out as lyrics in this song, and I'm still crying at this point. I'm crying all the way through Louder Than Words. I cry all the way up until you hear the little theme of Happy Birthday right at the end. I just love it so much. I'm crying. I'm probably going to cry after we start recording this as well, to be honest.
I'd love to watch this film with you.
And Alex is sat there, Mr. Man.
I felt it bubble, but it didn't. Like, it was sad.
This song makes you cry. Then it goes into and we know what happened with Jonathan Larson, and it goes to the credits, and it's real footage of him and his friends.
I'm bawling my eyes out.
Fucking brutal. Who decided that? All right, let's go show you the real man now and his happy moments.
Let's go show you the real man.
And his performance of Tick, Tick, Boom.
Yeah, and knowing that he didn't get to experience all that he worked towards. It's utterly horrible.
Heartbreaking.
With an abrupt ending to the film, let's abruptly go into our three takes. Alex?
With aggression. In the last pod, I judged Mamma Mia by 3 categories, and I think I'll sort of follow the same 3 categories again. I might do the same for the producers as well, but a slightly different one on this one because it doesn't quite line up. The songs, I mean, this is an emotionally charged musical, and every single song is fantastic. It's brilliant. It's performed really well. The choreography is amazing. No complaints. Then there's the feel-good factor, which is sort of a tough one, because this doesn't have a standard musical feel-good factor. It's like, but it doesn't really apply, but the feeling is up there. There are feels. And the ending, obviously, with the real life why and Louder Than Words is just an incredible ending to the film. Gives you the feeling, and the pacing as well of the feeling as you build towards that ending is bellissimo, fantastico. Then there's the total unreality. Applies quite nicely to Mamma Mia. Loads of people that dance on a Greek island. The unreality in this one, I'm gonna say, is within this idea that he desperately has to do something before he's 30. Life doesn't end at 30. For him, it ends at 35. But for most people, it ends a little bit later.
How did you say that?
You'd like to think it ends a little bit later. It did. It's factually correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd like to think it ends a little bit later. But I think that's the only piece of unreality in this. him just being into his work and not really paying attention to what his girlfriend's doing isn't unreality. That's just, I guess that's the curse of his genius.
It's ultimately grounded in reality.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing fantastical about it. It's just a real story. Isn't it?
Yeah. There's not. As far as musicals go, and also everyone just singing in a diner. No one's singing in a diner. That's pretty out there. But I hate it when we finish these things and all three of us sit there and go, God, that was so good. One day we'd like to just tear something apart. Like, I don't know what we can tear apart, but I would like us to do that. But this isn't one of those times. This is genuinely fantastic. This is the first musical that I've watched where I've immediately gone, can't wait to watch that again. Which is really strange. I love Hamilton, but because of how long it is, I'm not immediately thinking, I can't wait to spend another 3 hours watching that. Whereas this one, I can't wait to watch it again. So, yeah, I'd put it down as a must-watch.
Nice. So I'll go next. This is the first film where, for what my final take will be at the end, I've actually like written out a fuck ton instead of just trying to make it up on the fly. And I think the reason for that is because even though this isn't my pick, the one line at the top of that I've written is probably the reason it sums up to me. This film is everything to me. I love this film. I love the music. I love the message. And as I've said, I cry every single time for a good half an hour throughout the end of the film. I'm a mess every time I watch it. I love it so much. Like, this film makes you evaluate, I think, your own life. This film came out when I was 26 and I watched it pretty much straight away. And it did make me reevaluate my life at that time. It was the end of 2021. I looked at my life at 26 and went, I need something to change. And it did. And I actively, I was quite lucky of what I did for work at the time. I looked at my life and went, I want to travel more. So that's what I did. As I said, I'm not as talented as people are in this film or as people are in the world. So I looked at my life and went, what do I want to change right now? And I wanted to travel more. So I started putting my hand up for way more travel that I could do with work. And then I spent the next 2 years traveling on the road with my job, and I loved it. And I spent more time out of the country than I did in the country, and it was really enjoyable. But then when I came to rewatch it again for some reason, it reevaluated my life again. And I looked at my life and I went, what do I want to change? And I did. And then the same thing happened about this time last year. What do I want to change? Oh, I wanted to do something more creative. That's when we started having this idea of this podcast. And here we are doing it. And I'm very happy to be doing it. I just love this film. It's amazing. Anyone who watches anything, this is a must watch. As Alex says, this is a high recommendation of all time on my list. I don't think anyone can watch this film and hate it. I genuinely don't think that. And I'm very, very happy you guys like the film as well.
Yes, I mean, similarly, Chandler, I love this film. I think it goes in my favourites as well. Doing Three Takes of Stupidity is allowing me to find my favourite films and have an answer to that question if someone asks, which is not something I feel like I've had before. Because as much as I love film and I love films, I've never been one that just watches everything that comes out, or watching the highest rated things. Ultimately, I'm missing out because it's something I enjoy. It's just that kind of the act to sit down and spend the time and do it. I've always said I have to be in the right mood, weird and whatever. I'm just putting blockers on myself, which is, I mean, to be honest, a life story of a lot of things. I didn't know how personal I'd get in this take, but like this film is one of two pieces of media that have broken me. So like absolutely broken me. Tick Tick Boom and funnily enough an anime called Your Lie in April, and they both have musical themes, and they are two incredible, heartbreaking stories. And this one even more so because it's a true story. I turned 30 in 2 months. I've recently lost my job, and it's a very poignant time to watch this film. And it's hard to, I feel a lot of the things I think Jonathan Larson was doing, not paying attention to the other people around me as much as I can when they have their own things, whether that's family and friends, struggling to do what I need to do to progress forward. And I'm trying to do a career shift really from a technical thing I've been doing or a management thing into my passion, creativity. But that's really hard when you're nearly 30 and you don't have the experience behind it. Jonathan Larson spent 8 years trying to write a musical and it's not happened. But then in a sense, it's an uplifting film because it shows that just because he's nearly 30, that took him to he was 35 to get to where he wanted to be. And as hard as it is to watch in a place where you relate, it's uplifting in the end because he did succeed, but then he died, and that is heartbreaking. So yeah, amazing film. I will do a letterbox for it because it's incredible.
We have come to our senses, back to the real life. Let's go swimming in a green dress. This has been episode 2 of the Musical Trilogy. Next we'll be doing Chandler's pick of The Producers. Quick line from you, Chandler, on why we should be excited for that one.
Because it's a Mel Brooks written and produced comedy musical which stands the test of time, mocks accountants for trying to make money, and obviously mocks Hitler.
And that's something that we love to do here. We love to mock accountants on this podcast. If you've got any suggestions for films we can cover, you can send them to us via our Hop page. The link is in the episode description. It's goodbye from James.
Ciao.
It's goodbye from Chandler.
Goodbye.
And it's goodbye from me. Goodbye. We hope you've cried so much that your neighbours are concerned.
Nice. Don't forget to rate, review, and share the podcast. It really helps us grow. Follow us on all our socials, plus our individual letterboxd accounts. The links can be found in the description at www.hopwith2ps.bio/3takes, or search for 3 Takes of Stupidity on most platforms. Please send us your film and series suggestions on our Hop page or to 3takesofstupidity@gmail.com. Thank you, and hope to see you soon.